recording, Jack?
We're ready.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I will bring tonight's meeting to order. If you could stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to move that we adopt the agenda, subject to a couple of additions, adding as item G under the consent agenda, a payroll supplemental payment summary for $1,967. And also under item F, under presentations, airport presentation, which is going to be conducted by Suzanne Urkel on behalf of the Anoka County Blaine Airport Commission Advisory Board.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? To the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We have our agenda. Number 4, presentations. A, Dorsey Conduit Bond Presentation. Jack.
Thank you, Brian. At the May 1st, 2023 work meeting, City Council received a presentation from the city's bond counsel, Dorsey, and financial advisor, Ellers, regarding the request for the city's participation in conduit bond financing for the proposed purchase of the Cambia Hills facility by Nexus Family Healing. The presentation by Dorsey and Ellers reviewed the process and procedures for the issuance of the conduit bonds. Both explained the legal considerations and assured that the city would have no liability exposure if it should decide to be the host city for the issuance. ISD 15 School Superintendent Karsten Anderson spoke in support of the need for the service to be provided by Nexus, but had concerns regarding the charges for rent, state reimbursement of the ISD 15's cost for out-of-district students, and staffing for district-provided services. City Council members questioned if there would be additional costs borne by the school district to support these services. Negotiations are currently underway to attempt to resolve these matters. At the May 8, 2023 Council meeting, City Council approved Resolution 2023-34 to call a public hearing on the question of the conduit bond financing at the June 12, 2023 City Council meeting. That resolution did not authorize the financing or bond issuing for the project. The vote for final approval will be considered after the public hearing at the June 12, 2023 City Council meeting. Although the City of Ham Lake declined to participate as a co-partner in the conduit bond issuance, the Anoka County Finance Committee, composed of Commissioners Matt Look, Julie Brasted, and Jeff Reinert, approved the Nexus request to be the second bond conduit partner behind East Bethel. The committee showed a high level of support for the service Nexus proposes to provide and understood the value the conduit bond program could bring to the project. The committee expects their recommendation to receive all county approvals. In addition to reviewing the conduit bond process tonight, Dorsey will also present tax scenarios that could be expected from full bonding participation for the project to that of no bonding with total use of Nexus funds for the property purchase. The city may charge the borrower an issuance fee for its services in connection with the bond financing. This fee is to be negotiated should the bonding be approved. If the city issues proposed bonds, the borrower will be required to pay all direct and indirect expenses of the city and indemnify and hold the city harmless against any liability related to the issuance of the bonds. As the city's bond counsel, Dorsey would prepare the bond documents and represent the city's interest in the financing, but the city's costs, as well as the fees of all the other parties involved, will be paid by the borrower. The potential impact to ISD 15 and any costs related to this item are currently being discussed by Nexus and the school district. Attachment 3 in your packet provides a summary of their discussions to date. At this time, I'd like to introduce Rhonda Scobie with Dorsey to present Dorsey's presentation tonight and answer any questions the council may have.
Thank you.
Mayor, council members, my name is Rhonda Scobie. I'm with Dorsey and Whitney. I'm here tonight in the role of bond counsel to the city, as Jack explained. Um, Just to reiterate a couple of high points, I think those of you on the council are familiar with this process from our earlier conversations and Jack's excellent summary. The proposal today is for conduit bonds, which means the obligation is completely on the conduit borrower. In this case, that would be Nexus Diversified Community Services. The loan would be sort of a two-step process. The first step is the loan from Bremer Bank to the city of East Bethel. The second step is the loan from East Bethel to the conduit borrower. Conduit, it completely passes through the city of East Bethel. There are no administrative steps to be taken once the bond documents are finalized. The payments would go directly from the borrower to the bank. As Jack explained, there's no financial obligation for the city, and all of the costs associated with the financing would be paid by the borrower. Tax scenarios. There are two different types of tax-exempt bonds that could be issued. The main kind of tax-exempt bond, we'll just call them general, your regular tax-exempt bonds. These bonds will let the borrower borrow money at a tax-exempt rate, which is generally lower than the commercially available rate. And that would save the borrower a considerable amount of money. I'll let the borrower speak to what that amount could be and talk about the number side of things. But what we're looking for, if in this particular financing, what the borrower has requested is the issuance of bank qualified bonds. This is a subset of the regular tax-exempt bonds, and it provides an even greater financial incentive to the lender because they're eligible to be loaned to a bank, bank qualified. And to be bank qualified, the amount needs to be $10 million or less. And that is the reason that there would be two issuers involved if the bonds go forward in this way. That is the reason $10 million would be borrowed through East Bethel, and the remainder of the project, the $7 million, would be borrowed through Anoka County. Breaking it up in that way gives a more desirable tax scenario, a more desirable cost of borrowing, a lower cost of borrowing for the borrower, because it opens up the type of investors to a bigger pool, basically. And then the third tax scenario, no tax exemption at all. This is the commercial lending. This is the most expensive of the options for the borrower. In none of these scenarios is East Bethel's tax levy implicated. It is completely paid by the borrower. I'd be happy to answer any questions or elaborate on any other points.
Rhonda, do you have any information on how this would impact the school district with the conduit bond financing as opposed to the non-conduit bond financing?
Well, the cost of the project would be affected. And I can't speak to the school district's budgeting and how they meet that. But if the school district meets its budget by levying, it would have more to levy for if the costs of the project are higher. So that's a roundabout way of saying that the higher the cost of project, the more impact it has on the school district.
Would that be through the leasing of the classrooms?
Exactly,
Okay.
yes. And I am not a party to any of the negotiations between the school district and the borrower. Michelle Murray, who's the CEO of Nexus, is here, and their CFO is also here, Scott, and they could speak to the status of those discussions and some of the specific numbers involved, I think.
Can I ask you a question? What exactly is the hold harmless issue that's mentioned at the end? Could you refresh my memory about that?
Oh, yes. So thank you for bringing that up. So bank qualified bonds can be issued by any particular municipality up to $10 million.
Right.
So if East Bethel this year wanted to issue its own bonds for something, and I am not under the impression that that is part of your plans, if you did want to issue bonds, you would not be eligible to do it on a bank qualified basis because that 10 million would already be spoken for through this issuance. There is, as I mentioned, a differential between regular tax exempt bonds and bank qualified tax exempt bonds. So the borrower in its loan documents would agree to make up that cost, the differential, if you were not able to issue bonds on a bank qualified basis because of doing this deal. So if the difference between doing a regular tax exempt deal and doing your deal were calculated by your financial advisor to be a certain amount, that amount would be passed along to the borrower.
Thank you.
Thank you for that question. That's an important point.
I got a question. Is the city of East Bethel now, we're supposed to put up a $10 million bond, and the county puts up a $7 million. The county, in my mind, has got a lot more money than we do. Why do we got to put up the bigger bond?
Well, I don't think those numbers are set in stone. If there were a reason to shift that, I don't think the county would be opposed to it. They were very supportive. And if that's something you wanted
Yeah, I'm just
to
curious.
talk about, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Once again, very concise.
I try.
Thank you.
Is there any
Thank
other
you.
questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We also have our financial advisor, Stacy Quilling from Ellers here. Stacy, do you have anything to add to Rhonda's comments?
Mayor, council members, just to the last question, it really doesn't matter if you're 10 and the county's 7 or flip-flop because you're not liable for the bonds. You don't have to repay them, so it's not your money.
I understand that, but the thing is, like, if we're putting up the 10 million and say if we just needed 3 million for another situation, we'd have that option. If we put up the 10 million, we don't have that for the rest of 2023.
No, you do have that option. So that's what she just talked about in her last
Really? I
comments.
didn't
That's
hear
the
that right
hold
then.
harmless. So say you issue the 10 million, right? And then all of a sudden you go, oh, we got to issue $2 million for a road project that we weren't planning.
Right.
Essentially, you can still issue those bonds. They won't be bank qualified. But what happens is we calculate the difference in the interest paid, and then the borrower rebates that to you, to the city. So again, that's the hold harmless. So it's as if you hadn't used up your BQ, essentially is what she stated.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Any other questions for Stacy? All right, thank you. Jack?
Scott McGuire and Michelle Murray with Nexus are here. Would you all have anything to add or like to add any comments to the discussion?
Good evening.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for seeing us tonight. I was just going to add, with regards to the impact that it has to us, if the difference between doing fully taxable and tax exempt for us is $3.5 million over the life of the bonds, which is 27 years of the debt. So $3.5 million, I mean, it's real money. And as was disclosed, everything is more expensive if we don't get the conduit debt. What I mean by that is our program that we run, it's a zero margin program with National Medicaid. So this is not a business that we can make a margin on. okay? So we have to get reimbursement for all of our costs. So to the point, we're trying to keep the costs as low as we can, including the rent that we would charge to the school district, which originally with Cambia was going to be $450,000 a year. We were able to work on a rental system that maxes out at $130,000 if they only use 6 classrooms, which is what they'll probably use with the number of clients that we'll have versus what Cambia had, okay? So $450,000 versus $130,000. And then it's based on a ramp up. So it's only, every classroom is $22,000. So as we as clients and they need another classroom, then we charge another $22,000 for another classroom. So it's really just charging them for the classrooms that they use. So a quarter of the cost that Cambia had come to the district with, and then a ramp up until we get to maximum census. We disclosed that to to Karsten and the school district, and they were very happy to hear that was, they were thinking, they didn't know the last time they were here, they didn't know how much it was gonna be to them. All they had in their head was $450,000. So it was received very well by the school district.
Can you give us an update on how the negotiations are going with the school district?
Hi, I'm Michelle Murray, CEO of Nexus Family
Hi.
Healing. Thank you for the meeting and letting us be here and talk. Yeah, so the school, we're going really well. The minutes are in there, so I won't go specific dates because you can read that. But in summary, what we've been discussing with them is just some of the pressures that they're feeling in terms of educating more kids. Clearly, they want to help educate kids that need services. I think there was some hesitation regarding or some concern about will this impact their costs of educating these kids. And there's still a lot of unanswered questions. We've had several meetings. We've been bringing in consultants to help the school district from other districts in Minnesota. And right now, Superintendent Anderson is trying to be in contact with the state MSD person to answer some questions that they still have around the billing. It seems to be that they can either bill back the home district for the kids that are regular education, which would actually be revenue to the school and can offset any special education concerns. So that may get itself worked out. The other piece that you brought up is the lease. So like this first year annually, it would only be about $22,000 for the one or two classrooms, and then as we add the classrooms, it'll go up. But with that, what they're trying to look into is, would that have an impact on, any kind of levies? And one thing that we cleared up today with him and his finance person on the phone was that this is really not going to generate an additional levy. There's a basic levy that you do every single year in every city to pay for your education costs. That basic levy will happen like it does every single year. That levy pays for whatever cost the school district has for those things. The only thing that may result in a carve out is for that lease that Mr. McGuire was speaking to. So, and it would be very, very nominal. I mean, the school's gonna run up the numbers and we'll look at the numbers together, but we're talking probably in the $10 range per household because that lease is so low. So really, none of this would actually impact a new levy or a different kind of a levy than the regular, any expense that the school has will be part of their basic levy. And this would be a carve out for the lease, and they're still looking into all of that. And the school district has several options that they can do for the schooling. They can either educate the kids themselves, just hire more teachers, come in and educate, and this is where they're looking into whether or not they can bill regular education to other school districts, what they should be able to do, but they want to make sure that that doesn't impact their education formula for how they do their billing. So that's what they're looking into with the state. So they can either educate them and do that billing directly. The other thing that's unknown to them is the special education rate that they still have to work out the formula again with the state. The other options are there are two different intermediate programs, basically co-ops, that they could actually speak to. We have a meeting with one of those co-ops that we've invited the school to attend as well at the end of this month. We met with another co-op that essentially they would just come in and do the school at no expense, except for the leasing of the classrooms would still need to be paid for. So it seems like there's several options that we're all still working together on. with Superintendent Anderson and his finance person. And we're scheduled to have some more meetings and continue to work together to partner to find the best ability to educate that fits within the parameters of the education billing.
One thing that sticks in my head is when you said just a little bit ago that all we have to do is hire more teachers. Karsten Anderson, at the meeting that I first seen him at, he said they can't even staff their own people, so how are we gonna get these teachers so easily?
Well, we have that concern too. And the thing we have a concern about just staffing in every industry right now across the board. You know, it's just a matter of doing the right kind of campaigning to hire. The thing that's a sticky situation here is the kids are gonna come regardless of this education thing. So, I mean, the building already has the permit for us to proceed. So the school situation with educating the kids has nothing to do with whether or not we're gonna provide the service in East Bethel. So either way, we either are gonna do it at a 3.5 million more cost, or we're gonna do it at a 3.5 million reduction in cost. So either way, the service would open, and we have to educate the kids. East Bethel will have to educate the kids. So what we're trying to do is figure out a way, and this is where I think Superintendent Anderson would much more prefer that we go ahead and do use an intermediate program or co-op, because then he would not feel the pressure of hiring those staff. And usually the co-ops and the intermediate programs usually have a much, I guess, better funnel to get special education teachers in to do that. So that is their preferred, and we totally support that. We're used to the intermediate programs working with us in our residential programs. So.
It's my understanding you have other facilities besides just the one that you're looking at in East Bethel.
Yes.
Have you had any problems with educating or hiring teachers or staff at any of those other facilities?
Our staff is more challenging than the teachers. Now, we've got two different programs with two different setups for their education. One of ours, the public school, just like St. Francis could do, they decided to go ahead and just do the education themselves. So they are in charge of hiring everybody, whatnot. So they come and they lease. They actually wanted classrooms to be on our property. So they come and lease the classroom space. They bring all the paras and all the teachers over. You know, the teachers have gone up and down in terms of just like your regular school system in terms of them getting people. But they have been able to staff it. They do have a lease issue right now where we're going to be looking at the lease for them, because we used to have about 80 kids in that program, and we've reduced that. So we're talking to them about reducing the lease for them, so it's a little more manageable. Our other program, we actually own the school classrooms, and we actually, the school district has a special, it's not really a charter, but it was a special arrangement that now, it was grandfathered in, that essentially the public school, the principal actually works for the public school, but all of the teachers and the paras are our employees. And we've been able to hire, I mean, we certainly have gone through everything else like everybody else has where we have turnover, but we have a teacher right now at Girard in every subject that we need. You know, I think our harder hires are our direct care staff that actually work in the programs, because they're generally, you know, lower paid than a teacher is, and can be a challenging job. You have to be really committed to it.
Any other questions from council?
I have a question for Jack here. We have an ordinance that was changed, I think it was 2020, that's section 10, okay, 33, under, excuse me, underneath Appendix A, that had a lot of different things about licensed residential care. Are we gonna be having to change that back, or modify that, or what are we doing with that?
The only thing we'll have to do, there's a conditional use permit issued for Cambia Hills. It's got 9 other restrictions in it that I emailed out to everybody
Right.
today. That's gonna have to be amended and Cambia Hills taken off there. That's the only thing that I think we need to do, because it addresses the licensure stuff, the qualifications for Tennessee, everything that involves this is a non-adjudicated psychological residential treatment facility for youth.
Right. Okay.
And I can just say that we are prepared to meet all the same requirements that you all drafted for the Cambia Hills. We have no problem, that would fit all of our criteria for the program that we're running. All the specifics of those ordinances that were already carved out, we are fully committed to meeting those. There's not a problem there.
I'd like to request that you get a copy of the conditional use permit to all the members of the council so we can review it too. Is that good?
That's good.
Okay, good.
Any
Any
other
other questions? Jack, anything from staff?
No, I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. You've answered a lot of questions that I think we all have, and hopefully this is starting to clear some of the matters up. And if we have any other questions, I'm sure we'll be in contact with you. I talked with Scott and Michelle earlier about the amendment to the CUP. Went over the pilot program with them too, so they're all on board with that. So think that's getting some things worked out. Hopefully all the things with the school district will be resolved and we can make a decision on June the 12th.
Is the school district indicated for lack of a better term, a drop dead date on when they're gonna have all the information they need pulled together and shared with you folks?
No, they're pretty reliant on the state getting back to
Yeah,
them and
that's
other
what I was
people,
afraid
so
of.
they don't have a whole lot of control over just
Yeah.
continuing to send messages. And Carson indicated today that he's really hoping that he can get us meeting with the state the end of this week, and he would like us to be there as well,
Yeah.
so that we can kind of talk about their billing formula and understand how it works with the way St. Francis does their billing.
Yeah, that's the critical information we need. Yeah. We don't need it to decide to have a public hearing, but we,
Right.
yeah.
Jack, can you briefly describe what the pilot program is?
Pilot program is an acronym for payment in lieu of taxes. So as Nexus is nonprofit, they don't pay any property taxes. With Cambia, we worked out an agreement where there was an amount to be paid, but it was based essentially on real estate values of the private use of the property versus the added value that they had to the property. In this case, I don't think that's going to be able to be used. So what we're doing now is seeing what our costs for services are to provide essentially fire, police, public works service. And that'll be the starting point to negotiating this so that there will be a fair participation with Nexus in those provisions and payment of those services.
So essentially, they're nonprofit, they're not paying taxes, but they are voluntarily choosing to enter into this pilot program, and they will be paying certain amounts, don't call it taxes, but they would be paying a certain amount to the city in the same form as taxes.
That's correct. It'd be essentially a payment for services.
Okay.
Wouldn't be the tax, but we would factor in that. And I've had a brief discussion with Scott. We had some emails today, so we're gonna get together and start working on that to see what we can come up with.
Okay,
And
great.
We're amicable that makes sense to us.
Great. Anything else?
No.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Scott and Michelle, for coming here, and hope to see you in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For finish with that, we have item B, public hearing, zoning map amendment for 23620 Baltimore Street Northeast.
Thank you, Brian. City's requested to hold a public hearing and make a recommendation of approval to City Council for a zoning amendment to the City of East Bethel official zoning map. On July the 9th, 2021, River West Homes Incorporated purchased 23620 Baltimore Street from St. Andrew's Lutheran Church. Although this was originally platted in September of 2001 as Lot 7 of Block 1 of the Birch Meadows Second Edition, this parcel was subsequently zoned public as a result of the church being the previous owner. The city received a request for the rezoning from the owner, River West Homes. River West has constructed a single-family residence on the parcel and needs a zoning change to enable a closing on the sale of the site. The Birch Meadow subdivision is zoned single-family, R1, and the rezoning would be consistent with the surrounding properties. The rezoning request aligns with the approved 2040 comp plan. The single-family residential district is intended and designed to provide for certain low-density residential areas now developed with single-family homes in areas where single-family residential development is likely to occur. No more than one single-family dwelling is permitted per lot. There are no comprehensive plan changes required for this rezoning. The Planning Commission held their public hearing at the May 8, 2023 special meeting, and there was no one that spoke against the rezoning. The Planning Commission recommends that City Council approve Resolution 2023-38 as exhibited in Attachment 1.
Do we have a motion on the matter?
Don't you have to do a public hearing first? Then have a
Yeah, we need to
Oh,
open a public hearing.
I'm sorry.
That's what I thought.
This time I'll open the public hearing. If anybody would like to speak at this matter, please come forward at this time. As no one is rushing up here, or, this is.
Regarding the trails then, or?
No, this is a different matter. This is just a public hearing, not public forum. We'll call you up for a public hearing, or for public forum. So, all right, I will close the public hearing. Do we have a motion on this?
I'll make a motion to approve PIN number 32, 34, 23, 12, 0022, 23620 Baltimore Street Northeast from St. Andrew's Lutheran Church.
Second motion.
Also known as ordinance
Resolution.
number 2023-08.
All right, we have a motion and a second, discussion. There's no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? That motion carries. Item number C, Anoka County Sheriff's Office report. Lieutenant Peters.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lieutenant Derek Peters. I'm a lieutenant in our patrol division. April was significantly more busy than March was. We had approximately 457 calls for service, which was exactly 100 reports more than we had in March. Our volume has been consistent thus far throughout the year, except in April. I think it's probably due to some of the warmer weather. Our roads were clear. We had a lot more property damage crashes, a lot more accidents on our roadways. We responded to 1 burglary, 8 thefts, 60 medicals. We made 21 arrests for miscellaneous violations, and our traffic enforcement efforts were also up. We issued 77 traffic citations last month, which is by far the highest total we have had all year. So things have kind of been going hand in hand with the warmer weather. A lot more activity out on our roadways, a lot more calls for service, and of course we are out there as well. So a few notable calls that we had last month include a DWI that we made an arrest on the 12th of April. At 2:11 in the morning, Deputy Madsen was dispatched to a personal injury crash near the area of Sportsman's Road and Viking Boulevard Northeast. On arrival, Deputy Madsen located a black SUV stuck in some deep water in the ditch located in that area. A male and a female were walking around the water to get back to the roadway. Deputy Madsen spoke to both parties, who stated that they were not injured. During his conversations with the occupants, Deputy Madsen determined that the female had been driving and that she had consumed alcohol prior to getting behind the wheel. The female was asked to perform standardized field sobriety tests, which she did and ultimately failed. She provided a PBT roadside breath sample, which indicated a value of 0.25. The female was arrested and transported to the sheriff's office and later provided an evidentiary breath sample, which resulted in 0.20 BAC. The female was transported to jail and booked for a third-degree DWI. On the 15th of April at 8:52 p.m., deputies responded to a residence in the 1100 block of 231st Avenue Northeast on a report of an assault. Information provided to our staff stated that a male had been assaulted with a metal pole. On arrival, our deputies contacted several occupants of the home who alleged that one of the roommates that had been living there, without a valid reason, broke into another room in the house and struck someone else in the leg with a metal pole. The victim in the assault had fled the residence, likely due to an active misdemeanor warrant out for his arrest, and was not located during the course of this incident. During the investigation, while they were following up on scene, it was later learned that the suspect in this case also had an active warrant for his arrest and that he was currently hiding in an upstairs bedroom. Deputies determined that they would attempt to contact this male and arrest him for his outstanding warrant. While knocking outside of the bedroom door, deputies witnessed this male exit with a fully lit blowtorch in his hand. As the deputies began giving verbal commands for the male to drop the torch, they took an opportunity to deploy their tasers, which struck the male. The taser was successful in incapacitating the male, who had since dropped the torch. They moved in and arrested the male for his outstanding warrant, second-degree assault, and obstructing the legal process. Thankfully, no one was injured in this encounter. Finally, on the 25th of April, at 8:30, Deputy Seafolk was on patrol near the area of University Avenue and 237th Avenue Northeast when he recognized a vehicle that had been involved in a recent narcotics arrest. Deputy Seafolk noticed the passenger side signal failed to activate when it turned right onto 237th Avenue Northeast. Deputy Seafolk stopped the vehicle for an equipment violation and spoke with the driver. The female driver had a revoked driving status, and there was no proof of insurance on the vehicle. Due to the inconsistency in the driver's story and the vehicle being involved in a recent narcotics arrest, Deputy Seafolk requested Deputy Cutler and his canine partner Diesel to the stop location to perform a sniff on the exterior of the vehicle. On arrival, Deputy Cutler and canine Diesel sniffed the vehicle as requested. Diesel alerted to the presence of narcotics inside of the vehicle, and a probable cause search was conducted on the interior of the vehicle. Deputy Seafolk and Cutler later located 2 plastic containers that contained a white crystalline substance that field tested positive for the presence of methamphetamine. The vehicle was towed from the stop location, and the driver was arrested for the drug offense. She was transported to jail and released to staff without incident. So, as I had stated before, March was approximately 100 calls less than we saw in April. We've officially begun our busy season of the year. Thefts last month were also on the rise again, so just make sure, please, as a reminder, to lock your vehicles at night, lock your homes. We just want to mitigate the risk to any sort of property. We have resumed our normal traffic saturation details and speed details in areas that we have been requested to throughout the city. So when we get complaints, traffic-related things throughout the city, I'll usually get them from Jack. And then I send emails out to my staff to get out there and provide some extra patrol in areas that are of concern to us. So please make sure you're driving the speed limit. And again, as always, arrange for a sober driver if you need one. Call 911 and speak with a deputy directly if you have concerns or issues with anything out on your city streets, roadways, or near your property. So thank you again for providing me the opportunity to brief the council tonight. I'll stand for any questions.
Julie, any questions from council?
On these burglaries that you're reporting, are
Yes, sir.
these, do you consider these random, or do we have to worry about a group of kids running around or a group of people doing this and what to look for?
Yeah, actually, I noted on here that we responded to 8 thefts. It's different than a burglary.
Okay.
We did respond to 1 burglary. Usually, the last burglary that we had responded to was in January. So not seeing any trends as it relates to the actual burglary, but certainly thefts. That's been consistent across the board here. In March, we had 7. April, we had 8. In January, we had 8, but February, we were down to 1. So it fluctuates every now and again, and I think we'll probably see that trend continue with the warmer weather, unfortunately. But our tactics do change with the weather based on what we're seeing out in the public. So when we see foot traffic out on our city streets, when we see foot traffic in neighborhoods, my folks are very diligent in getting into those neighborhoods. Showing a visible presence usually results in some sort of deterrent. So please call us if you notice anything missing. If you see something that's just not right, like I always say every month, please just give us a call.
And these thefts, are they being done during the day with people at work? Are they out of cars? I mean,
Yeah,
what are we talking?
really good question. A lot of these have been across the board. So we do see some at night, but we also see them during the day when people are gone at work. I know I've been up here and spoke before about the importance of having cameras, Ring doorbells and things of that nature. Again, another visual deterrent, and also it provides us a base or a starting point for an investigation if we can at least determine what these people look like, what they might be driving. I know my ring camera captures vehicle traffic as well, driving down the city street. So very handy tools for us to assist when things go missing.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council?
Thank you.
Any questions from the audience? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Thank you.
Next, we have Fire Department report. Mr. Lashinsky.
My report is not as exciting as yours. I have presentation envy, so. I'm Troy Lashinsky, District Chief of Station 2 for East Bethel Fire Department. I'm filling in for Chief Sanow, who is out of town this week. In the month of April, it was also our busiest month year to date, and it was our third busiest month since January of 2022. We responded to 86 total calls, of which 63 were medicals, 6 car accidents, 6 alarms, 2 burning or smoke-related calls, 4 that were categorized as other, 3 fires, and 2 mutual aid calls. Year to date, our total calls as of right this very minute is 373, which puts us on pace for 959 calls, which is a 3.5% increase over last year, and we expect it to be actually higher than that. Year to date, also of note, our total number of medical calls is roughly 80%, and if you look at the last 5 years or so, it's been more close to 75%. So we're seeing an increase across the board, but mostly in medical calls. I guess another fun fact is you would kind of expect that the days of the week would be 15% across the board. Just every day would be the same number of calls. But for whatever reason, year to date, Sundays is the least busy day at 11% of our calls. And Wednesdays of all days, we're seeing 18% of our calls, which I don't know why that is, but I thought it was interesting enough to mention it. That is all I have as far as the fire department report goes. Any questions from council?
Has there been any progress on the hiring front?
Yeah, so good point. As was mentioned earlier with staffing is always an issue, and we're seeing the same issue with the fire department. So I believe that we are approved to have up to 45 members, and currently we have 29 total members, of which 2 are full-time. So we have 27 paid on call. And of those 27 people, 5 of them are probationary members right now. So we are definitely in the market looking for more people. So if anybody is interested at all in joining the fire department, being a member of our community that goes out and helps those in need, please reach out to the city. We have an application on our website. You can contact Chief Sanow, and even if you want to just get more information or come visit the station on a training night and see what we do, we would welcome anybody to come join us.
What's the optimum amount of members that you're looking for?
I think that we would be better off having closer to 35 members.
So, looking to get 5 to 8 members.
Right. And we actually have several retirements coming up. I think that within the next couple of years, I would be surprised if we didn't have 5 members retire within the next 3 years. So it is critical that we hire more people as soon as we can.
Okay. How's the grass fire season looking?
The grass fire season's, so anyway, in the month of April, one of our exciting calls is we had a large grass fire on the northwest corner of Viking and Highway 65. And that prompted us all to be very worried that we were going to have a massive grass fire season with how quickly everything melted. It was very dry, it was very windy at that time, and luckily then it started raining for like the next 3 weeks, and so far so good. That's the only major grass fire that we've had this season, and everything's greened up, so I think we're over the hump. Right now, I look today, we do have still moderate fire danger. We are still requiring permits for burning, but rec fires are always legal at 3 by 3 by 3.
All right. Any other questions from council? Any questions from the audience? All right, thank you for that portion of it, Troy. If you want to move to the presentation.
I'll do the report and Troy will be available for any questions or answers.
All right.
This item is the Fire Department Public Employment Retirement Association presentation. The East Bethel Firefighters Relief Association members would like to investigate moving their retirement plan to the statewide volunteer firefighter plan. The statewide volunteer firefighter plan is a defined benefit plan, and PARA, the Public Employee Retirement Association, administers the retirement benefit in a one-time lump sum amount. A volunteer firefighter's retirement benefit is based on their accredited years of service, vesting status, and the benefit level for their fire department at the time they separate from the service. This move has been previously discussed, but there were reasons not to join the statewide volunteer plan, including a multi-year benefit freeze, restrictive program opt-out clause, and limiting vesting options. These items have since been resolved, and their program appears to be a better option than the current East Bethel Firefighters Relief Association plan. As compared to the current plan, there are several benefits to join the state volunteer plan, as the Relief Association will no longer be required to pay for an outside audit, saving approximately $10,000 annually from their fund, invest the assets of the fund through a fund manager as professional portfolio managers, with the State Board of Investment assume this responsibility, saving approximately $11,000 per year. They would no longer have to continue the responsibilities of the fund and bylaw management. Para-management of the fund essentially eliminates the time requirement for members of the Relief Association to oversee the fund. Plan benefits are portable, and vesting schedules are lessened, and in 2023 there will be a financial incentive to join the state fund. The attachment 1 in your packet requires a signature by the city to initiate the cost analysis for comparison of this fund. If the analysis is positive, the East Bethel Fire Relief Association could request council approval to move the retirement fund to the state plan. As stated before, Troy is here to answer any questions you may have regarding this recommendation. And going forward, council is requested to approve the signing of a request for a cost analysis to join the statewide volunteer firefighter plan as exhibited in attached 1 of your packet. So if you have any questions, Troy's here to answer and give you any information you need.
So Troy, the retirement fund is essentially your money, but you still need city council to approve anything for it.
That's right. So the Relief Association is a nonprofit. It's a 501c4 organization. It's a separate entity from the city. And the sole purpose of the Relief Association is to provide a retirement benefit to the members, which is a recruitment and retention tool to make sure that we have qualified firefighters for our city to provide fire services and medical services to our community. So the reason that we have to have city council approval is because if we fall below the funded balance, the city is liable to make up the difference of whatever shortcomings that we have. So in the history of the Relief Association, as far as I know, there's only been 2 years where any kind of city council mandatory contribution was required, and that was in 2009 and 2010 due to the stock market crash of 2008. Everything that would happen would be in a 1-year delay. So of course, our goal is always to be 100% funded, and we've done a very good job of that, I feel, over the many years, and we've had a wonderful relationship with the city to make sure that we maintain a good benefit and still are prudent in making sure that we're 100% funded. So the statewide volunteer plan started in 2009, and one of the big reasons I believe it was started in 2009 is because almost every relief association, including ours, is basically volunteer run. So all the time that I spend on it, it's volunteer, pure volunteer. We're not getting call pay or anything. So You know, we meet usually on a monthly or bi-monthly basis. Even the job, like we did last year, to get a benefit increase pushed through, just updating the bylaws alone is about 7 hours of time, you know, just to get that part done. And that doesn't include all the meetings to decide if we should do it, all the analysis, you know, for whether it's a prudent thing to do or not, you know, lobbying, I guess, with council. So it just takes a lot of time, just to even update something very simple in the bylaws. So what's happening across the board, and I'm sure that everybody in the audience and anybody that's watching this will know that it's very hard to get volunteers to do anything. You can't get volunteers to help out with sports. You can't get volunteers to help out at schools. It's really, really hard to get volunteers. So to ask people to do things like that on their own time is very difficult, and it's complicated as well. Nobody really understands relief associations, so it is a complicated job that you have to do for free. So that's one of the big reasons, as the people that have been doing it for a long time, such as myself, not that I'm going to retire, but as these people retire, nobody wants to step in and take over that role. So that's one of the big reasons to do it. And of course, the other big reason is if a bunch of small communities pool their money together, of course they have more power, right? We do that joint powers agreements with other cities to take care of roads and things like that too. So it does make a lot of sense to have a bunch of small communities get together. Now what's happened over the years is some of the bigger cities jumped in there too. So now it's a behemoth, a giant plan, but that does provide a lot of benefits for us as well. So we were very concerned with, originally there was a several year freeze of benefit increases. Even if your fund was well overfunded and the stock market was doing great, you could not get a benefit increase for many years. That's been resolved, and the big one that was a problem for myself personally was once you put your money into the statewide plan, there was no way to actually take it out if you didn't like it or didn't agree with it or it wasn't working for you. Once you were in forever, and that also has been eliminated. So our financial advisor that we've been working with for many, many, many years, even though it's stated in there she made about $11,000 on us last year for, you know, minimal time investment on her part, she has stated that I can no longer, in good conscience, not tell you to move to the state plan. It makes a lot of sense for you financially, and this is where you should go. So that's one of the big reasons that we're investigating this. There is a little bit of a time crunch. We would like to get this signed sooner than later because we would like to get it submitted to the state before July 15th. That's kind of the cutoff to join in December. So they only allow people to come into the plan one time, and I believe it's January 1st. If we don't make that cutoff, then we would have to wait a whole nother year. And also the state of Minnesota has put together a financial incentive to get cities to move over this year as well. So
What is that?
that's unclear what it is.
It's unclear.
It's unclear. So it's a giant pool of money, so it kind of depends on how many people move over. We're
Right.
going to divvy it up amongst the folks that decide to move over.
One other question, if you move to the statewide volunteer fund, is the city of East Bethel obligation to make up any shortfall still?
Yeah,
the same?
so from the city perspective and from a financial impact, there's no change. So everything still remains the same. Even if we decide to go for a benefit increase later, we still have to come to you and request that and present why we want to do that. If we do fall below the recommended level, then again, there will be a mandatory contribution instead of the voluntary contribution that you make to us every year. So as far as all of that goes, nothing really changes. The big thing for us that changes is we don't have to go through these audits, which is very expensive and time consuming. And it not only takes up our time, but Mike Jazorski has been a great asset to us for many years, and he helps us through those audits as well. So it does use up some of the city's time as well.
How is Mike going to stay aware of how the funds are being managed so we can look out for the residents?
Yeah, so he will still have access to everything that he has access today. So he'll still be creating a monthly report for us that kind of shows where we're at and where we're going, and what happened before, what's happening now, and what
Is
we
he
think is
included in like calls with the people who are actually managing the money and all that kind of stuff?
So he currently has access to all of our funds, and he does a monthly report that's available to everybody every single month It's basically a financial statement. It's a monthly financial statement of where we're at. He's also a member of our Relief Association, as well as Tim Harrington, our mayor, and Chief Sano as well, are 3 municipal members of the trustees for the Relief Association, and then there's 6 firefighter members.
Thank you.
So again, all we're really asking for today is a signature just to allow us to investigate moving to that plan.
Well, I'd like to move that
Okay.
as an item. I mean, all we're doing is a cost analysis, so makes sense to me.
I'll put that in a motion.
Well, do we have a resolution?
No, there's no resolution. You're just authorizing the signature for the cost analysis to be done.
What he said? No,
Okay.
no. I make a motion that we approve a cost analysis for the change of the East Bethel. Help me out on the
Fire
proper
department.
name.
East Bethel Firefighters Relief Association.
Employment Retirement Association.
Yep.
To the statewide volunteer fund.
Second.
Yeah.
Any discussion?
I do have a question. It sounds like we're really positive in this, and it sounds like it's coming of age and it's a good thing. Is this request for a cost analysis to join this, one, is that gonna tell us anything new or different that we don't know already?
Yeah, so to be honest with you, I've been very opposed to joining this plan for many years, but now it actually makes sense finally. And I don't really have a comparison apples to apples, what we have today versus what we will have. So until we see this cost analysis, I won't truly know what the numbers are, but if you think about it, that's $20,000 at least that's gonna go right back into our pocket to spread amongst the members. So that number alone tells me all I really need to know that is probably the better deal.
Do you have any idea how their average returns
Yeah,
compared to what you guys have
Yes.
managed to cook up?
Yep, that's a great question too. And it's also in the terms of stock market, it's really hard, right? Because our money is invested this way and theirs is invested slightly different. So you have to use different indexes. So year on year, their investment return is very similar to ours. It's just slightly higher than ours. Big part of that is they don't have any international investments, and we do. So international has kind of taken a hit over the last year or so.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's probably the big difference. But every year they issue us it's a report card that shows how much better their fund is. But but you know, it's
Not to
not
rub it
apples
in
and
or
apples.
anything, huh?
Well, it's not apples and apples. So
Yeah.
of course, you know, you can take any number and twist it and make it look better. But with all that said, I'm not saying it's a bad plan. I think it's a very good plan. So I'm 100% on board with we need to investigate this, and I would be shocked if we don't see the proof that we need to move this direction. So
Okay. There's no other discussion. All to the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes.
all right, well, thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for the
Thank you,
opportunity
Troy.
to present.
Good luck with the analysis.
All right, thank you. Off to
Yeah.
training.
Next is our airport presentation. Jack.
I will turn this over to Ms. Urkel and bring up a slide that she wishes to show us.
Hi, everybody. I'm Suzanne Urkel. I'm a co-chair to the Blaine-Anoka County Airport Advisory Commission. And I attended a meeting on May 10th, so I just want to kind of brief what the main highlights of what they went over. The first thing is upcoming events. On June 3rd, there's a Blaine Burger Bash from 10 to 2. This is mostly business oriented, so if businesses that would like to use that airport, I strongly recommend you go and network a little bit. On September 27th, it's open to the public, an aircraft viewing area. It's from 4 to 6 p.m. And I also want to make a note that anybody, any group can go tour the airport at any time. Brian Orr would be so glad to host you. And I put his number on there. 763-780-2802, for those of you who can't see the slide. And they have a website, and they changed their website. It's now macnoms.com, MACNOMS.com. It has a flight tracker, because I have seen many posts in the last 2 weeks, I'd say, of people complaining, curious, what's that helicopter flying so low? Why is that aircraft there? What's going on? You can go and look for yourself and find the aircraft, find out the type of aircraft it is, the mission it's on, anything. Also, if you have complaints, if they're flying too low and you think they're spying on you or something, you can, or making too much noise, you can go to that website and do a complaint. Also, at the meeting, they have a detailed analysis of every single complaint that comes in to the area. I mean, their analysis tools are really amazing, and those are available on the website too. Does anybody have any questions? No?
Questions?
All right, well, did I miss anything, Mr. Lewis, that you can think of?
Oh, just that he emphasized what a great opportunity they have in front of them and that the traffic is increasing. It's a little jewel down there. It's pretty slick operation at Anoka Blaine
It
Airport.
really is, and they're planning on some renovations of the tenant buildings and,
Yeah.
can't think of the word, what are they called?
The hangars?
Hangars.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I have, but I do still have tickets for the senior fundraiser, so if anybody needs any, I have plenty.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Thanks.
Thank you. So that concludes our presentations and public hearings. We will move on to item number 5, public forum. When I call your name, please come up to the podium and give your name for the record. If you can, keep your time around 3 minutes for your presentation. First on the list is Jeff Swanson.
Hi, I'm Jeff Swanson. I live on 235th Avenue. I'm here for the trail connection going to John Anderson Park through the city easement that they have going through there. I've lived here for almost 25 years. We've got kids. We bike, run, walk almost 4 times a week. We go around the same cul-de-sac. We know what a great opportunity John Anderson has with the beach and everything like that. It'd be nice to get the kids, so right now their only access they can't drive is either go around Highway 65 on that road, which we won't let them, or 237th, which has a shoulder about 3 inches, and we won't let them do that. But also in our cul-de-sac, it is heavy kid traffic. I mean, since I've been there, I've seen houses 2 to 7 kids, pretty much all of them. So there's plenty of use it would get, and even now, some of the kids that have grown up there are having kids, so, and their grandparents are here. So I do understand a couple neighbors, if you border it, you know, they never want it. They have that privacy there, and pretty much anything like that would, if a neighbor's there, they would not want that. But for the rest of us, I think it's a great tool, great activity to get over there, utilize a great park with that beach, Cooper Lake, all that, and vice versa. So people in that cul-de-sac can get to Bond Park and utilize our parks over here in East Bethel, make a little better trail system. And that's all I got.
Fantastic, thank you. Next, we have Pat Brown.
I'm Pat Brown, this is my husband, Sean, and we're on 235th Avenue as well. We're about halfway between the cul-de-sac and Jackson, and I'm here because I heard that somebody misrepresented some of the neighborhood's feelings on the trail. I don't know if that's true or not, but I just want to make sure that I offer my support, my husband's support, and a couple others here from the neighborhood that also support. There may be others. I'm a little more analytical, so I've never done this before. I'm a little nervous, so please bear with me. I did write my comments down, so I hope it's okay if I read.
Absolutely.
If I read them?
Absolutely.
Okay. I told you I was analytical. Plans for this trail date back to, as my knowledge goes, back to April 1995, maybe sooner, when we purchased our home. Our plat map with our title shows the city-owned property between the two residences. And we were informed of the plans for that connecting trail when we bought the home, which was a positive for us. I feel like in East Bethel, there are a few trails or places that we can walk to or bike to safely. Most of them are just, in my opinion, a short 1 or 2 mile stretch. Nothing really connecting and bringing parks together, areas together. In many cases, in order to use them, we have to drive, which isn't real convenient, especially when, as I said, the trails are relatively short. Parks and trails in almost every case add value to a community, attractive to residents, are necessary for growth. Like schools, if you don't have good schools, if you don't have good parks, trails, it's very hard for a community to grow. Trail systems are part of every thriving community. Isanti has, you can bike Isanti all the way to Cambridge. Andover has their trail system. Rum River and St. Francis, you can bike for at least 3 miles, and so forth. And I don't know if it is hearsay or not, but I do just want to say that if somebody did state that nobody in the neighborhood wanted, nobody in the K-Dale addition, our neighborhood, wanted the trail, I guess I covered that. That's not true. Sean and I were really excited last fall when that new trail was cut through, paved or not. It was beautiful in the fall, added length to the trail, and we enjoy it every day. We do have a neighbor who is gracious enough to let us use her property to access the trail. Without that, if she ever cut us off, or does not live there anymore, we know parks, trails last longer than homeowners do. So when that sad day comes, sorry, we lose our access to get to those trails. We use that in the winter time too. We like to snowshoe through there as well. I'm almost at 3 minutes. Okay. This connecting trail, as Jeff said, will provide a much safer access. Lots of children in the neighborhood. We have grandkids coming over, lots of children. It also would make a much easier way to connect to the designated bike and pedestrian trail on 24, follows Fawn Lake Road around, which we bike probably, I don't know, 2 times, sometimes 3 times a week. We could get the connection, and all we'd have to do is cross 65 and off we go, instead of having to go on busy roads on either side around, as Jeff talked about. So I just feel like the city really needs to think about safety and an easier way to access these trails in a safe way. I fully acknowledge trails generally are something everybody wants unless it's adjacent, connected to their property. And with all due respect, we did purchase our homes knowing the plans, that the city owned that area, knowing that the plan was to put a trail in. I've also heard, in my opinion, it's negative, the term riffraff used. I do fully acknowledge there are nefarious intentions out there from time to time, but I think that is vastly overstated. And I don't think it's fair to lump people outside of our K-Dale Addition neighborhood and label them as riffraff, as everybody has a right to use public areas. I also can understand concerns for the privacy. There are, however, shrubs, trees planted on either side of what's staked out, and I haven't been through there, obviously, but it does seem fairly private, and I would imagine that the city would also clearly mark the trail. And like I said earlier, I'll wrap it up now, the homes, we did purchase, all of us did purchase our homes knowing where the ownership lied, city easement, your property. And I think that's all. I just really hope to see this through to completion. I just think it makes for a much stronger and growing community and safety. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Did a good job. Next, we have Elizabeth, and I'm not gonna get your name right, so I'm just gonna say V. Elizabeth V.
And I have the property that is just north of where the proposed path is. And I've been there for 26 years. And one of the first things that I did when I moved there is there was a creek that goes in the back of the property before the forest. And I happened to be surrounded by some of the most wonderful neighbors on earth. They are fabulous. It's a community. And I wanted to get a path so I could go through the woods and be able to enjoy the area back there. The wonderful people that are here tonight who have spoken just before me, Pat and Sean Brown, were kind enough to forge a path through the woods with a four-wheeler, and they were also generous enough to help put in a bridge that is going across that. And so our neighborhood has been enjoying the path that I put in 26 years ago. And I get a good sense of what happens when people that I know, the wonderful people that are my neighbors, that I trust their kids, they're good people, they're not going to do anything. But periodically somebody would tell somebody else, and then somebody else would tell somebody else, and there would be a herd of horses going through, or there would be kids coming through in groups of 15 to 20. And things change when it's people that I know and love and trust and their kids versus other people coming through. And so periodically, and I'll just come out with this, that I'm the secret person that's been going through the last 26 years and maintaining the path. So I mow the area that was the original path that's going around there, trim the bushes, and I also pick up the garbage that people have left there. So I see the oil that's been left. I see the air conditioners that have been left, the outdated computer equipment that's there. All the crap that people that I don't know, not these wonderful people that are my neighbors, people that I don't know do that because they don't have a sense of ownership of that area. That's what I don't want. We've got this wonderful neighborhood, and I mean, quite frankly, everybody here is welcome to use my path, and they have for several years, and that's been fine. That was an interesting comment. Maybe they're afraid that now that I'm retired, maybe I won't be around as long as they're going to want to use the path and they want some assurance. But I really think that it's going to compromise the neighborhood. It's going to make it a less desirable place to live because we're going to have people that don't love and respect the land. People that are just, they feel entitled, they're going to go through and they're going to leave their beer bottles and their condoms and their food trash and all of their garbage that I've been picking up for 26 years. They're going to leave that crap, and whether it's going to draw more wildlife through there, it's going to change our neighborhood in a way that is not good. It's going to, I mean, people think that we're lucky enough that we've got a piece of virgin forest like the Boundary Water Canoe area. That land has never been anything but forest. It's beautiful, it's pristine, there's no place like it other than the Boundary Waters that I've ever been to. And this feels like what comes up with the Boundary Waters periodically, where people say, you know, we should just put through some roads and some bridges and make it accessible for everybody. And if you do that, you destroy what you're trying to appreciate. And that's what I think is going to happen here. That by having this path go through, it's going to invite not just my neighbors that are good people, that are going to be responsible and caring and respectful. If everybody was like that, this would be a non-issue. But I expect more garbage. I expect that there's going to be kids experimenting with smoking and drugs, and because it's closed off. There's this virgin forest that's back there. And it's going to be a place that mischief, it's going to be inviting trouble back there. You can expect there will be more need for policing there because there's going to be more mischief going on back there. Because there's all these tall trees and there's no people back there. And it's a great place for people to get into mischief. And we've got this wonderful neighborhood that is going to be permanently compromised. It's going to be deteriorated because there are going to be people that are not respecting it. They don't care about it. They don't care what happens to it. And they're going to want other things. They're going to want areas that are going to be free of mosquitoes and free of wood ticks, and so that means that they're going to want more herbicide that'll cause cancer, spread in that area, increasing risk to wildlife, increasing risk to people who live there. There's going to be more opportunities for wildlife to come through, and when people are finding that there's bears in their path, they're going to demand that those bears go away. And if there's coyotes or foxes or things like that, they're going to want those gone. Our neighborhood will be changed in a way that we will never get back if that path goes through. And I really don't want to see that happen. That's all I have.
Great, thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Jack, would you be able to give a brief update on where we are with that trail system?
If you want to wait, that's going to be an item on the consent agenda for the bids for the internal paving of those trails in John Anderson Park, and I can give the update on the connector too.
Okay, so can pull that item. Okay. With that, I'll close the public forum. Moving on to item number 6 then, consent agenda.
I'd like to pull A, approve bill list, and B, the minutes from the April 24th meeting. And of course, D, John Anderson Park.
Okay, we need a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda. I want to pull A also.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion to the motion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The motion carries. Item number A, Kevin?
I just had 2 questions. One was, let me see, let me get down to the list. Was under Planning Department, WSB and Associates Software, $5,400. Is that an annual cost, quarterly, monthly?
That's an annual cost
That's
for the
an annual.
maintenance of our GIS system.
Okay, thank you. And the other thing is, under Street, AutoNation, 6251. It's near the end. What is that regarding?
That's for extensive repairs we had to have done on one of our 450 diesel trucks, replacing turbochargers. All the sensors in there were messed up, so it was quite an extensive repair cost. That's what that was for.
Okay, thank you.
Jim?
Okay, under building inspection, 2 of them in a row there for Aaron Berg, one for 3246, one for 23587. General operating supplies, what is that about?
That was a inkjet printer that we bought. He got a good price on that, better than we can find out. He purchased it on his credit card. We're reimbursing him for that. It's used by Sherry Eisenbrown, so she doesn't have to get up and walk to the copier all the time. She can print stuff out at her desk and still take care of people that come to the front
Okay.
for building
thanks.
permits.
Then, under building inspection, refund permit, $190 for 3-way electric. What's refund for the permit? I mean, what?
They paid for the permit and the job was canceled, so we
Oh, okay.
There was no inspection done or anything.
Same thing with their mechanical
That's,
work?
that's correct.
Okay. Then for the fire department, conferences and meeting, $1,200 and $1,725.
On the fire, the $1,200 is for training purposes and training programs. On the second one, that is for training programs for firefighter one, and those people that actually pass that course, I think the reimbursement is $575 per person. We get reimbursed for that when they pass the course. So those are all training programs.
Okay. Then also in the fire department down farther, we got safety supplies. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. Alina Health System. What safety supplies are we doing? It comes almost to $4,000.
Actually, those aren't really safety supplies. It should be coded to educational programs. They had a problem with their billing, and we actually started getting bills. There's one of these bills that's dated January 2021, so they're bills that we never got. The only current one is for May 1st, 2023. The rest of them are past billings that they were sending us past due notices. We'd never gotten them, so now we're just receiving them.
So that's for education instead of safety supplies?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, then, on the mayor, city council dues and subscriptions, mediation and restorative services, $1,324. What's that about?
That's a service that's provided by a nonprofit organization that 13 of the 21 Anoka County cities belong to. And it's for trying to resolve conflicts for issues with landlords and tenants. Something the city has contributed to for years and years.
So are those dues?
Those are dues,
Oh,
correct.
okay.
Are those yearly, or are they monthly? Or?
No, they're yearly. It's an annual cost.
Okay. Then down farther on that page, escrow released Josh Schwinarski, $241.50. What is the escrow release?
I'll have to look that one up. I'm not exactly sure what that one's for. It's for a wetland escrow review. So all the money that he put in there to have that wetland delineated wasn't used, so that money goes back to him.
Oh, okay. Then, there's one last one. It's a refund overpayment. It's only for $39, but BDM Construction, they paid too much?
They paid too much. Generally, when we have a closeout on a water bill, if it's a spec home, we estimate that higher, so we'll make sure we got our costs covered.
Okay.
And then the cost, when we read the meter, if it comes in lower, then we give the refund back to the owner.
Okay, thanks. That's all I got.
Then we're supposed to move to approve item A, right?
Yes.
I so move.
Second.
Any discussion to the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. Item B, Kevin.
I went onto the city website and checked the minutes of April 24th. That's a subsequent meeting when we were reviewing the minutes. I mentioned that there was a misunderstanding by, what's the name of the offsite secretarial services?
Time savers.
Yeah, time savers. About the intent of what I was saying, as far as they took it, I had some problem with you talking to Tim, and that's not what I was saying at all. It was that when you guys talk to outside parties on behalf of the city, you have to inform us as quickly as possible, so it was a complete misunderstanding. The minutes, I just checked them this afternoon before I came here, and they still say the same thing.
I'll make sure that's.
So, yeah, I need to correct that. That's all I had, was just pointing that out. So I'll move that we approve item B.
Second.
Any discussion to the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on to item D, John Anderson Park Trail bids. Kevin.
I was just asking what you were you said you were gonna talk about it, so I'm just asking, where do we stand? We had a public meeting, right? On this trail? This is the one with Corrine or whatever her name was, had the issue about the,
She came and spoke at the public forum, but this was on our capital improvements program.
right.
So,
So are we just where it's gonna go forward and we've done all we can?
well, we
We
had a
would-
meeting on site with Karina after that. Tim was present.
Okay. I
Joe
didn't-
Ryder was present. We had some discussion about the impact it would have. And we looked at what the cost would be and where we were, the time of year. The water was high, you couldn't get across there. Actually, on the other side, this is where Karina lives, and I believe this is where this is where, what was your name again? I'm sorry. This is where Elizabeth lives. This is a trail connection. But there's still some oaks in here that would need to be cut to pave that, so we don't cut any oaks between April and October.
Oh,
so.
that's right, yeah, now it's,
So,
yeah.
and even if this were considered, this couldn't be done essentially probably this year.
Okay.
So, we had some talks on site and thought maybe it'd be best, let's just go ahead with the proposal to pave this internal trail within the park, which is shown in blue here. That's what the bids are for. And then this connector trail would be left for future discussion.
Okay. Well, we're up to date on everything as far as Karina's concerned.
That's
I just
correct.
wanted to make sure that we're listening to the residents' concerns, which I think are valid.
Yeah.
And I also think it's valid that it was public property when she
Yeah.
purchased the property, you know, so.
And we had that meeting, what, about a month ago, Tim?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as far as you're concerned, we've done everything, done
Correct.
our due diligence for her?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So what the
Sir.
request on the consent agenda now is to approve the paving of these trails right here. The city's actually gone in and constructed the base of the trail, so all that has to be done is
Right,
paved.
yeah, you're just putting the layer of
Correct.
asphalt on the top. Oh, then
So-
oh, excuse me, Brian, go ahead.
Was there a question?
Can I ask a question? Yes, the area that has the red line going through right now, has a final decision been made whether that is going to go through or not? Is that still up in the air? Is that still
That's
pending?
kind of what I was
Yep.
asking, yeah.
That's what is, it couldn't be done this year, so it'd have to be reevaluated next year.
So that means it's not decided for sure, or it will take place next year?
No, it will be decided next year on whether they're gonna proceed with it or not.
Okay. I don't
Thank you
know.
for asking the question better than I did.
So what will determine whether it's approved or not, I guess?
That will be up to the city council. We'll just lay out the cost, see what they want to do, and go from there.
With that, I'll move that we approve item D, was it? Yeah.
Yes, item D. John Anderson Park Trail bids.
Second it.
Any more discussion? To the motion, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are through our consent agenda. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There is no new business. Department reports, all the way down to item G, June work meeting agenda.
Our monthly work meeting is scheduled for Monday, June 5th, 2023 at 7 p.m. The following items are recommended for discussion. Electrical permits, which would be a change to the state permit issuance and inspection from our contractual services now. A discussion, if needed, of additional information on the conduit bond issue proposals for the Canby Hill property purchase. Discussion of the community development director position, any ordinance reviews that may be brought up, and a communication survey result report. Those are the items we'd like to recommend for the work meeting schedule.
Would it be possible to get updates on things like the Gail Murphy's property and other such, you know, these problem properties, or however you want to refer to them, that are still outstanding out there?
Sure would.
Code enforcement properties,
Yeah, there you go.
I can add that to this.
If you could just give us some kind of an update.
code enforcement update. So we'd have 6 items. Anything else to that? If not, if we can have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the proposed agenda for the June work meeting.
Second it.
Any other discussion? To the motion, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? That carries. Jack, any other updates?
No, I just want to update everybody on our pothole patching progress. Last year, we spent $7,500 patching potholes. That was for materials only. To date this year, we spent $25,500 and we're about 2/3 through. Now, the remaining portion of the work will go quicker because these are the potholes that aren't as serious as the other ones. But we expect to be over $30,000 on material purchases, which is 4 times what we did last year. And hopefully hope to have those wrapped up within the next 2 to 3 weeks. So for anybody that's concerned, that's where we are. We're making progress, but it's been a slow process this year.
And apparently half of those remaining potholes are in front of Tim Miller's house.
We have sinkholes. We got some
Sinkhole.
bad ones right now.
Well, that's one thing, you know, we approved the bids for that project. We're gonna communicate with Oak Grove, see when that's gonna be able to start. It is contingent on, there's a piece of right-of-way that has to be procured. If it's gonna be delayed, then we're gonna come back there and do some work on that because it's unreasonable to ask somebody to wait another 2 or 3 months if that project's not gonna start until August.
August.
So I know past couple winters, we haven't gone through our whole salt budget for roads. So would some of that surplus monies compensate for the overage on the pothole costs? Or is that built into the road costs?
It's not built in, it's kind of built in, there's a budget figure, and it was probably around $7,500. So we did spend almost all of our salt budget, if not up to the limit this year, because of all the snows we had. We did approximately 28 snow plowings this year. Not all of them, a couple of them, we had to go back out 2 or 3 times to clean stuff up, but it was a heavier than normal year with over 90 inches of snow, so we'll just have to see where we can make that up in each of the categories as we go through the rest of the budget year, so.
All right. Anything else then, Jack?
That's all I have.
All right, anything on staff report?
That's my staff report.
Okay. Council reports, Jim?
I don't have anything.
Okay. Mr. Miller?
Yeah, I'd like to talk a little bit about this pole barn material ordinance that we have sitting out there floating around. I think it's been floating around for almost 2 months. Okay. Recently, the EDA, I remember, requested it. I thought it was a great idea. I mean, we get more people looking at it, we get more information. I did enjoy most of the discussion while watching the EDA. They came up with some valid points for it. And actually some good ideas to make some changes to what we had, to improve it and make it better. I'm still not sure about the sarcastic comments that we have to take during these meetings. I don't think it's a message that we want to send. I don't think it's a message that benefits anybody in who resides in this city. It took a long time to put this ordinance together. We talked with 5 different businesses, all of which said, you know, it's going to help and it's going to open doors, and I believe that's what we're trying to do here. To me, I expect when we send an ordinance or something to be amended, that once it passes one of our work meetings and goes to council and we send it to a committee, that it gets fine-tuned. This is where, you know, you discuss it. You get to ask the questions. How does it benefit our residents, our businesses, our agricultural community, our seniors? I mean, that's exactly why we're presenting some of these ordinances. You have to ask yourself, when you see it, can we make it better? The fact that you're seeing it and currently holding one of the amendments that we try and send forward is a good indication of where it is already in council and the direction that we're trying to go. The thing is you have to ask yourself, can we make it better? You know, can we tweak this? Or is it good to go? That's the kind of advice, that's the kind of, you know, comments we want to see. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. Stay professional with it and basically make your point, and we'll take everything into consideration. That's where that stuff is supposed to be done. If you don't like it, it's not, you know, your job to, well, let's cut it down, let's make fun of it, let's talk down about it, or make comments that are consistent with, well, if we don't approve this, what's next? There's not what next. We're trying to do this for the city, the residents, the businesses. We're trying to get the wording right on these changes. You know, do they benefit our residents? Do they benefit our businesses, our ag community, our seniors? Are we trying to make these ordinances the best we can? I mean, that's why it's in front, and that's why we have these committees, at least to my mind and to my opinion. That's exactly what I'm looking for when we send something there. Getting the wording correct should be a common goal, along with the thought process of how are we benefiting from this as a city, as a residents, and businesses. And for the most part, we got some good ideas from the last EDA meeting, but I still think we need to do better. I think we've got a lot of people who may like change, they don't like change, but it's happening. And when you keep in mind that we're trying to do this for the benefit of our residents, to give them some relief, to give them some more freedom, so to speak, I'd like to see more people get a little bit more excited behind stuff like this. And you should. I don't know how you cannot get behind trying to help our residents, trying to help our businesses, trying to help new businesses. And from the EDA, I mean, I think what they came up with is excellent. I think there's a place for it and a place not for it. And that's one of the changes that I look forward to trying to work on, and I hope planning sees that too, that we can create opportunities while protecting what we have. That's what I want to hear from the committees, and I appreciate that. But Jiminy Crickets, if you don't like it, at least help them get the wording correct on it. You know, you don't have to be negative and make negative comments. It wouldn't happen in any business, and it should not happen at city business. And that's how I feel about it. I want people to know that there's a lot of time and effort that puts into this stuff, and anybody, any resident, any business can bring ideas, and I'd be happy to write it up. I'd be happy to try and get it into the council if it, you know, meets the criteria of what's good for East Bethel, their residents, their businesses. And that's basically all I have to say about that. I just hope people can see the vision that we're trying to bring. I had people thinking that we're gonna build pole barns and then spray paint a sign on the side of it and open it up. That's not what we're looking for. You wanna see what we're looking for? This is what we're looking for. We're looking for buildings like this. Buildings that have character. And the city, I can pass that down. The city has ultimate control over how these businesses look. And, you know, it could be as simple as, you know, better clarity, just say it. Stuff like that we can figure out and hone in on to give a better basic package to our committees. All you gotta do is ask for it. It's a simple process in my mind, and I've got something that's been bogged down for 2 months. And I don't understand it because it does benefit. It's just all around something that new businesses can help get a foot in on, existing businesses can expand on, and we can limit to where it goes. That's what these talks are all about. I mean, it's not me against you or me against you or anybody else. The vision and the goal is the same, and it should be the same, to benefit the people here. You know, and that's all I gotta say about that.
All right, thank you. Kevin?
Just to follow on what Tim just said, what we don't need is snide comments by people who are members of advisory committees that are supposed to be helping the city council, and we represent the residents as the ones who were elected by the residents. There's a sarcastic, malevolent tone with a few individuals, and I'm gonna be very honest, and I want this on the public record. We were gonna take, and we advised Jack of this, we were gonna take pretty strong action here tonight to remove a person that we think exemplifies the snide behavior. And we decided, no, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We just decided it today, that we don't want to overreact. We want to give this person a chance to either get with the program or do the honorable thing, and that is say, I don't believe in more freedom for the residents and for businesses. I think they should be kept under the thumb of the city, and therefore I don't agree with your agenda, and resign. That's what an honorable person would do. Say, no, I don't believe in what you're for. I resign. Okay, but we thought we'd just. I mean, what Tim is talking about is the truth. It's very simple. We didn't want to seat people on advisory committees that we thought would be working every single moment of every single day against everything we're trying to do. And that is just common sense. No, only an idiot would want to seat people who are going to constantly be battling you when they're supposed to be advising you. And the basic goal we're trying to get is not to change ordinances for the sake of doing so. It's to try to bring a greater freedom for the residences and how they enjoy. It's called quiet enjoyment is the term for it, enjoying your property and having a certain amount of freedom in what you do with it. And the same with businesses, not putting onerous requirements on them to build a Taj Mahal, or we don't want you in East Bethel. You know, this kind of behavior. And especially that a city government should be vested with power such that, you know what we get, which I never anticipated? We get anonymous letters from residents because they're afraid of being found out as complaining about something with the city, that there will be retribution. Being afraid of retribution from your own government that you're paying for? I mean, I expect that kind of stuff in Chicago or New York or something like that, but not in East Bethel, you know. The goal is to try to increase the freedom and improve the quiet enjoyment for the residents, and also to make East Bethel an attractive place for businesses to develop, expand, without putting onerous requirements on them that do nothing more than just exert a power over somebody for the thrill of doing it, I guess. I don't know. But it's like Thomas Jefferson said, that government governs best which governs least. And I'm a big believer in that. And when we see problems in the ordinances where it's ridiculous requirements that accomplish nothing significant, we want to eliminate them. And do we want feedback of advisory groups? You bet we do. That's why we have them. And we don't need the conflict. I mean, I seem to have a reputation where I like conflict. I don't like conflict. It's unproductive. You know, it's inefficient. And it's annoying too. So I'm just asking everybody who's on any advisory role, please examine your own heart and see if you want to be part of this, or you just want to pack your lunch and sit on the bench, because we're about up to here with taking any more of this stuff, this unfounded opposition, okay? I just wanted it on the record. Thank you.
Well said.
All right, well, I have no update, so I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Second.
Any discussion to the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, we are adjourned.